over the history of Disney FastPass, and some of the details that I discovered were completely surprising to me. But probably the most surprising thing was how the history of FastPass actually affects your future Disney World vacation. So let's talk about it. Hi, friends. This is Laura Kromzak with the Disney Slowdown. And yes, if you have found me on your live news feed or your shorts feed on a random Thursday afternoon, welcome. If you're not a regular attender of my channel, what I do is I help new people navigate the world of Disney for their first vacation or maybe their first vacation in quite a while. And the whole lightning lane thing has been a huge topic of discussion. A lot of people appear to hate it. Some people tolerate it. Other people just learn how to use it to their advantage. And what I found in researching the history this morning is that the people who come to Disney World for the first time are the ones who are going to spend the most amount of time waiting for attractions. And I found that very interesting. But let's back up just a little bit. First of all, if you know the history of Disney, like, maybe just on the surface level, you knew that Disney used to give fast passes for free to guests who attended the park. And everybody is like, oh, they used to be free. And why can't we go back to the free system? But this video that I've been watching, and it's an hour and 40 minutes long. Now, I love a good documentary. I love history and how things work, and I really geek out over numbers. If you find yourself in that category as well, once this live video processes, the I'll put the description, or no, how am I going to say this? I will link that video in the description box below so you can go and watch it for yourself. I found it fascinating. If that's not your deal, then let me highlight a couple things that I was really surprised by. First of all, in 2017, I believe, club level guests at Disney World were given the option to pay $50 per person to receive 3 fast passes at 90 days before their vacation, and then additional 3 fast passes at the 60-day mark before their vacation. And you might think, huh, I didn't know that existed. Well, unless you were a club level guest, you probably didn't know that existed. If you weren't paying attention to all the Disney news or the Disney vloggers, which there really weren't that many at that time, I don't think. But hi. um, if you weren't paying attention to the Disney news, you probably didn't know that Club Level had an opportunity to pay for more fast passes. I found that fascinating because that happened in 2017. The only thing that I knew about Disney was before the pandemic, they were free, and after the pandemic, we were charging for them. So I really think that this 1 hour and 40-minute video, giving the whole history and all the problems that Disney had from inception of the demand in their parks, causing a lot of people to come to their parks and huge wait times, that's also not something that we ever hear about. So, here's another thought that I've had in the past. Oh man, if we were just Disney people back when it opened, like we could have experienced, the parks without all this huge amount of wait times and all the cumbersome times of trying to get onto the rides or meet the characters. No, it was way worse back in the day because they had fewer rides and they didn't have any kind of a system in place. So people were still waiting multiple hours for the top rides. I just found this fascinating. So let me get to where this talks about how it affects your future vacation. There are 3 different kinds of guests that come to, we're just going to go Disney World because that's where I am. That's what I talk about is Disney World. I am not familiar with any of the other parks, and each of the other Disney parks, they do have their own culture. So we're just going to focus on Disney World. It shows that there are 3 types of guests. There are the people who are planning their once in a lifetime vacation, and you are probably finding yourself in that category, especially if you're watching my channel, because that's kind of the people that I talk to. Then you have the people who are annual pass holders, like myself. Sorry, we go regularly. I would say probably in the 3 years now that I've had an annual pass, I average about 1 day a month, maybe even a little more than that, because I have been taking multiple days at a time. Where when I first had my annual pass, I would drive down for the day, do whatever, and then drive home the same day. Then you have the people who go regularly, like maybe once every year, once every couple of years, right? Those are the three different categories. And it showed that the people who go regularly, once every year, once every couple of years, they actually spend less time waiting in line because they get to know the system and they get to know how to use it toward their advantage. The annual pass holders, the people who go multiple times a year, they will spend a little more time waiting in line, but the advantage that we have by going so many times in the year is we know when good times of year are, is happening. Like we still have to do a park reservation. So we can look at the calendar, and if Disney has determined that there's not going to be as many guests there, we don't have to make a park reservation that day. We have good to go days. And so if we pull up our reservation calendar and we're like, when am I going to go to Disney World this month? I'm looking for those good to go days when I don't have to make a park reservation because, first of all, I don't have to worry about which park I'm going to start at until I, start heading down there. But also, I know that if they're giving me a good to go day, that means that census is probably lower. Another benefit to going all the time in that AP category, even though we tend to wait a little longer for rides, which I found very interesting, but we know, like, let's just take Epcot for example, because that's my favorite park. I know that Soarin' and Spaceship Earth are going to have, peak times where people are waiting more, but they're also going to die off, and there's going to be times during the day when I can basically walk on, or I can wait 15 or 20 minutes as opposed to 55 minutes for those two rides. Like, there's definitely times when that's going to ebb and flow. I also know that Test Track and Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, two very popular rides, they have single rider lines. And I know that Guardians of the Galaxy, my favorite ride, I know that their wait time actually includes the pre-show and the entire ride. So when I see a wait time for Guardians of the Galaxy of 60 minutes, which is kind of my limit, I know that's going to include the entire queue, the pre-show, and the entire ride. And I'll be getting off the ride right at that 60-minute mark. So then I might say, okay, I might be willing to wait 75 or 80 minutes now instead of just the 60. So those are things that I have learned by going down there regularly. What surprised me, I guess, and maybe not totally, but the people who are planning their once in a lifetime vacation, their first vacation, there's so much information out there that that category of people actually spend more time waiting in line than any other category. And that's probably the most frustrating thing about taking a Disney World vacation right now, is because there's so much information out there, and learning these systems and then trying them out for the first time, you're going to spend more time and more money doing the same things that people who go every year have already learned how to do. And so there's just a huge learning curve to Disney World. And that's really why I'm here, because you could plan your first Disney vacation and you're like, okay, we have to buy lightning lanes. We have to spend $45 per person per day to so we can ride all these rides, but what you don't know is that you don't really need it for Figment. You don't really need it for Living with the Land. You don't really need it for the Three Caballeros Grand Fiesta Tour. Those are great rides, but you're going to be able to get lightning lanes for those, but you didn't really have to pay to skip those lines in the first place. But you don't know that because you've never been and you're not familiar with the parks. What I also know is that it's going to be difficult for you to get Remy's and Frozen and Test Track because those three are on the top tier and you can only pre-book one of those. And by the time you get to the day and you use your first lightning lane and you try to book another, they might all be gone. Also, Guardians you have to pay for separately. So then that's more money that you are spending. All this to say that I understand your frustration of trying to plan a Disney World vacation. And I know that it costs a lot of money. And I know that you can be overwhelmed with information. And my goal on this channel is to help you have a good time, no matter what you get to do in the park. Last summer, I did some series of Plan B alternatives because there are times during the year when the parks are so packed that you could, if you just absolutely had to wait in line for the top attractions, you could be waiting 4 hours. That's ridiculous to me, but this isn't my once in a lifetime thing, and I've already ridden all these rides. So while they're great and I would like to ride them, I'm not in the category of I absolutely have to ride them and I'm willing to wait whatever the amount of time is. And I also understand that if you have children or if you have people in your family who just really don't like the crowds, that you need other things to do to occupy your time and make you feel like you didn't just waste all that money and time in Disney. The one thing that I do enjoy about Disney, regardless of the crowds and the systems, is that there's a lot of different layers. And most people who plan their first vacation to Disney, they're only hitting the top layer, and that's the rides. They're like, we got to ride all these rides. We have to get, lightning lanes for all these rides so we can ride all the rides. And it's not until your second, third, fourth that you realize, oh, there's also these other shows, or there's these other things to do, or, there's food that, is interesting and fun. And that can be a destination as well. I know there's a lot of people out there that are exclusively talking about the Disney food. I don't know that the Disney food is all that, but I do enjoy interesting food and I like to eat. So we do go there and eat quite a bit. But there are days when I'll buy like a kid's meal and maybe a snack, bucket of popcorn, of course, and I'll be done. I mean, my last trip, I think I literally did that. I was there for like 3 days and I mean, I had a $50 gift card and I spent that. That was about it over 3 days. Like, that's not a lot. So it's possible to go to Disney and not spend a whole bunch of extra money that you weren't intending on spending. It is possible to go to Disney and have a good time and have an enjoyable experience without riding the top rides. So I do have a playlist on my channel, and it's the Plan B playlist where I talk about top three things to do in each park that you could do on any given day, even when it's really busy, because there are some attractions that I think are totally underrated in each park. There are some experiences in each park that are completely underrated that people skip over a lot of the time. And we skipped over them as well. So that I know from personal experience that, when we first went in, we were all about the rides, the rides, the rides, just like everybody else. And then we started discovering the layers and we're like, wow, this is really fun. And now I can go to Disney and I don't have to ride a single ride. Just walking around and some of those other experiences. So I wanted to give my knowledge to you so that you don't feel like you've wasted all this money just to go into a park and do nothing. I understand. I completely understand. Also, now the food one, I did like top snacks. Food changes all the time, and I think from last year a lot of the things that I recommended, they are still all in all the parks. But the food is something you just kind of have to stay on top of. I've only done one sit down dinner and I wasn't all that impressed with it. I'm just saying. So, I get it, character dining, all the rage. If you have the budget to spend 150, $200 per person to sit down at a dinner that's meh and see a bunch of characters, then that's great. And I get that experience. That's just not something that I have prioritized yet. I don't know that I will. Maybe when we have grandkids, right? That's the time to go and take them to the sit down dinners. I don't know. I don't know. That's a future me. I'm nowhere near that situation yet. But I just wanted to enlighten you a little bit on the history of fast passes and that there was a paid service that happened in Disneyland before it came to Disney World. And when it came to Disney World 4 years before it came to everybody in Disney World, it was at club level access only. And that's another thing. It's like, oh, the people who want to spend money and they have a bunch of money to spend, they can just keep throwing money at Disney and they can skip the line and it's not fair. Well, Disney has created this, as the video calls it, a monster that the more supply they give, like we're opening new lands. People are waiting for those new lands to open and then the parks are going to be flooded. So is that really increasing capacity? It's increasing demand and there's going to be more people there. So you're not going to experience shorter wait times, you're probably going to experience longer wait times because there's going to be more people attracted to the park. So I think this is a problem that's going to continue. And if it's something that you want to deal with and you want to do, they're once in a lifetime, the kids are at the right age, you really need to focus on your priorities for your whole family. I've said this before, like when my 18-year-old now, when we took her for her first vacation to Disney World, she was only 4. She was the size of a 2-year-old. She couldn't ride any rides. She didn't care about riding rides. All she wanted to do was meet the princesses. So if you have kids in that area, fast passes may, or lightning lanes now, lightning lanes may not be an expense that you have to spend because it's okay to view the magic of Disney World and all these immersive lands through the eyes of your toddler and not ride a single ride because they may not even care. And then you've got to worry about, like, if you have little kids and adults, you're not going to be riding together, splitting up your family. My friend Brandy brought her 5 kids. We had 2 of them that were special needs and they didn't really want to ride anything. We had one little bitty one. She was 5 or 6. I can't remember what her age is, but she was super tiny. So she couldn't ride anything by herself. And then we had the 2 older ones that I took, and they wanted to ride the big rides. But we really needed a third person there to take little bit around to the rides that she could do because she was stuck with her brothers who didn't want to ride anything at all. So sometimes splitting the group up, even though you think that's not really a family vacation, sometimes that's the best way to do Disney. So I just wanted to enlighten you on the things that I had learned today, and hopefully that helps you plan your future Disney vacation a little bit better. I know that for me, I've never used the Lightning Lane system in any way, shape, or form. The virtual queue, we got really good at the virtual queue. And of course, there's no virtual queue right now. Maybe when they open a new ride, they'll put a virtual queue out. But, when they brought Test Track out, I don't even think they used it. They might have used it, but it was very, very short term. So they went right to a standby and they added it to the lightning lane. So I don't know what their answer is, but I've never used a lightning lane. And I know that the first time that I use lightning lane, if I ever choose to do it, it's going to be it's going to be cumbersome. I'm not really going to understand how to use it. I'm not going, even though I have all this knowledge, translating that into getting the rides that I want, I just don't see it going well the first time. That's all I'm saying. Of course, I also have the added knowledge of, like, if I'm at Epcot, I'm I mean, I know that I should waste a lightning lane on Figment or the Pixar shorts because I can get a time quicker and then I can use it later on for another big attraction. That's one advantage to knowing the park. But the other is, okay, maybe I only get 3 or 4 or 5 lightning lanes. Like, you book the 3 first and you get 2 tier 2s, which means your Figment or the Pixar shorts, like, you might be able to get those right at 10 o'clock in the morning. So grab those so you can book another one, and that opens up your top tier attraction. So maybe you can get Frozen and Remy's and Test Track in one day. But that might be all you get aside from the 2 that you don't really need a lightning lane for, you know? I don't know. I see the frustration and I want to be helpful. I really do. So if you found this video helpful, maybe it's more confusing. I don't know. Um, I would appreciate if you subscribe to my channel and like this video and send it to a friend who's planning a Disney vacation. Like I said, once this video processes, I will put the link of that other video I was watching about the history of Fast Passes in the description box. On my channel, you can find the playlist of my plan Bs for when the parks are busy. And you can also find a playlist of lightning lanes and how to navigate them on my channel from other experts who actually know the parks and know how to use these systems, because I do not. All right, I guess that's it. I just wanted to come live and spend some time with you today. So I appreciate you, and I hope to see you on my next video whenever that is. My husband and I are actually taking a couple of days. We're leaving tomorrow. We're going to go down to SeaWorld. SeaWorld's got a food festival that I'm kind of excited to check out, and he always loves barking at the sea lions. He doesn't like feeding the sea lions. He wants to feed the harbor seals, which are the quiet ones, and they wave to you. They're so cute. It's hard to get them on video waving, but I'm going to try. And we just like going around SeaWorld and seeing what we can find. It's not necessarily our favorite experience because there definitely are a lot of issues with SeaWorld, but I do have some videos on my channel about SeaWorld, so I don't know if I'll spend any time recording, or we're just going to take a couple of days and just enjoy the parks because, it's been a little hairy here, which is why I haven't put videos up on my channel for a while now. But thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you on my next video, and I hope to help you plan your next Disney vacation with the videos that I already have on my channel. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.